Now it's time for our press review, and as we've heard already today, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ruled out a ceasefire with some strong words, saying it's a time for war. Leo joins us now for the press review. How have those words been received in the press then, Leo?
Yeah, let me start with the front page of the Daily Express. They have those words in bold. Israel says this is a time for war. The Prime Minister said that a ceasefire would be equal to surrendering to terrorists, calling Hamas monsters. He also congratulated the IDF for freeing a hostage, an army private freed during Israeli advances into Gaza. What I really want to show you is how opinion has really turned against Netanyahu in the media. We'll start with Haaretz, a more left-leaning paper that is often critical of the PM. They have this, they call his blame game cheap and depraved. They call Netanyahu grossly negligent and unfoundedly arrogant, saying his government is too incompetent to succeed. I'll give you this one particular line. The two lowest points on the planet are in Israel, the Dead Sea and Benjamin Netanyahu's demeanour. One is a natural wonder, they say, the other a political blunder. The piece goes on to blame the PM for making excuses as soon as the attacks happened on October the 7th, saying he spent 15 years making empty promises to topple Hamas. And while he may not have been directly informed but of these attacks and got prior warning, he had received several warnings over the years that Hamas were going to escalate matters. A lot of the outrage revolves around a tweet from Netanyahu on Saturday night where he blamed intelligence chiefs for their failures. The post was met by outrage and he's since deleted it and apologised. But these sorts of criticisms aren't just reserved to Haaretz. I want to show you Israel Hayom, who in the past have been criticised for being too pro-Netanyahu and defending him no matter what he says. This isn't the case. This morning they've come out and criticised the man. They're a lot less scathing to Haaretz maybe, but there's definitely a lot of criticism in this article. They say that Netanyahu has allowed Hamas to become a monster. He's legitimised them over the last 15 years. He's had that amount of time to wonder and to change, but he's chosen to do nothing due to a fusion of arrogance and negligence.
Let's move away from the Middle East to Kenya. King Charles is visiting. What's been the local press reaction to that, Leo?
Yeah, Charles and Camilla arriving in Nairobi yesterday. But as we can see in The Standard, which is a Kenyan newspaper, they jet in with little fuss. It's the King's first state visit to a Commonwealth country since his coronation. He arrived at night with little noise compared to Obama's visit a few years ago where they shut down a whole terminal. It's a 4-day visit where Charles will acknowledge painful aspects of the UK's colonial past. More than 10,000 people were killed by the British Empire during that Mau Mau uprising in the 1950s. 10 years ago, Britain actually they expressed regret and paid out £20 million to more than 5,000 people who say that isn't enough. I'll show you the New York Times. They have this. They say he will be walking a tightrope on Britain's past. The palace has declined to say whether Charles will actually apologise, and what they're really trying to avoid is a public relations nightmare like the one that William faced when he went to Jamaica last year. Descendants of slain Mau Mau leaders say they want Charles to offer a formal apology, and critics say that this trip is all about public relations and nothing the King says can change the past.
Another Africa story for you now. Moving a little south, though. This is a story about a fake doctor in Johannesburg.
Yeah, the story of Matthew Lani, whose night shift at the hospital went wrong. This is from Times Live, which is one of South Africa's biggest news sites. So this man, Matthew Lani, amassed over 300,000 followers on TikTok, handing out medical advice. That was closed down, so he opened a new one, which got over 50,000 followers. His arrest follows a manhunt which lasted several weeks because he was impersonating a doctor and giving out bogus medical advice on TikTok. He was finally apprehended trying to enter a hospital in South Africa, in Johannesburg. He had the genius idea of disguising himself with a medical mask and a stethoscope. Somehow that didn't work, and security apprehended him. He then tried to escape custody by jumping out a bathroom window, but was quickly caught. And this has become a bit of a problem in South Africa. 124 people have been arrested over the last 3 years for impersonating doctors in the country.
Well, you talk about about disguises. This one's all about disguises as well. We're going to change gears for the last story. It's Halloween, of course, and a certain star has received a little bit of a makeover. Tell us about it.
We can't keep her out of the news. Everywhere you look, you see Taylor Swift. She looks a little bit different in this Guardian piece this morning, though. This is a SwiftKin, a £400 pumpkin in the likeness of pop star Taylor Swift. That's 188 kilos for reference. I'll show you a closer picture of this magnificent work just so we can see it up close. So this was made by Ohio resident that we can see in this picture, Jeanette Paris. It's something she's been doing for 35 years. In the past, she's done Kim Jong-un and Ted Lasso. It took her 12 hours using acrylic paint to complete Swift's face, and she's got 9 wigs to complete the signature blonde hair. You can see she's used all of the pumpkin there. She's left no blank space. Paris said it's her favourite pumpkin she's ever painted, so maybe a bit of a love story, and it's all in collaboration with breast cancer research. Paris is a 2-time breast cancer survivor and paints the pumpkin to fundraise, so you definitely couldn't describe her as an anti-hero. Of course, she does this all for Halloween. Halloween today, of course. And Stuart, I just want to say I'm very impressed with the mask you're wearing today.
Yes, thank you very, very much for Leo.
Very realistic, though.
I shall lend it to you a little bit later on. You can go scaring all the children.
Scare the
in
local
your
children.
neighbourhood.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for those kind words. At least the Taylor Swift pumpkin was all for charity. Liam McGuinn there, he may not be back later on. He may not be capable of coming back later on. A little later on in the next half hour.